Hello and welcome back to the A's and Badgers Let's Play of Godzilla on the NES. Today we're playing Neptune, I believe? This should be the second to last stage. I know I've said that a billion fucking times now, but this time I think I mean it. Looks like the layout for the map is basically kind of similar to the arena layout of, was it Uranus? Yeah. So not a whole lot of terrain to traverse, but makes up for it with a shit ton of monsters. Anyway, I'm gonna start things off with Godzilla, of course, because I prefer to avoid using Mothra at all costs. Yeah, I apologize for the length of this game. I mean, I know that's something that's entirely out of my hands, but seriously, when I started this Let's Play, I honestly forgot just how long this game was. So, I apologize for that, although I understand it's not really my fault. Anyway, what else can I say about Godzilla movies? Let's talk about Son of Godzilla. It's not really my favorite anymore, but as a kid it was one of those movies that I just couldn't get enough of. In fact, my parents and my aunt still like to tease me and tell me that as a baby, half of what I used to say, of like the half dozen words or so I could say, like, half of them were, "Baby Godzilla, breathe fire!" So, yeah, Son of Godzilla has a pretty large spot in my heart. Anyway, it's interesting to note, at least on a personal note, that Kamakira's theme, the giant praying mantis, also called Gimantis in the English dub, Kamakira's theme is probably the first piece of music I can remember hearing in my entire lifetime. Like, it's the first memorable piece of music that I can honestly say, like, there's nothing that came before it, for the most part. And it's a great piece of music by Masaru Sato, who is perhaps most famous as being the composer for Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo. He worked for Toho, and he produced a lot of soundtracks for them, several of which were in fact Godzilla soundtracks, like Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Ebirah, aka the Sea Monster, and Godzilla's Counterattack, aka Gigantus the Fire Monster, aka Godzilla Raids Again, also known as the second Godzilla movie ever made. His music is very distinctive. He makes use of makes very interesting use of brass and strings to the point where it has almost jazzy quality to it. Very, very 50s, 60s kind of style music, and he's an awesome composer. He's one of my favorites, at least of the massive roster of Godzilla composers. Anyway, Son of Godzilla it wasn't really the best of Godzilla movies, I mean, as I look back on it, but I don't know, there's a lot of color to it, and it's one of the few Godzilla movies that I can honestly say the human characters are actually pretty interesting. There's a huge cast of familiar faces in there, some of which I can't remember the actors' names, but Akira Kubo was in it, and he was fucking awesome. and although the Godzilla suit was perhaps the ugliest in Godzilla history and was only used once, I really liked the movie. It introduced several monsters, and it had a pretty massive roster of monsters actually for the time. It had Kamakiras and Kumonga, who in the English dub I think was called Spiga. It's the giant spider. And then also had Minira, aka Baby Godzilla. And I don't know, it had this fun kind of like island mystery thing going on. It was on a much smaller scale than most Godzilla movies, but like I said, the human characters really propelled the drama because most of them were very distinct characters, and you got to know most of them, and although almost none of them were in any sort of danger throughout, like you really felt for them on this mysterious tropical island where everyone's kind of going crazy over the heat and their constant failures and their experiments and whatnot. But of course, as a kid, I'm pretty sure the main reason why I liked the movie was just because it had Baby Godzilla, and Mineta was really fucking ugly and had a really annoying roar, but as a kid, I think I probably identified with him somehow. Wow, I'm actually kicking Baron's ass. This is awesome. I might actually get a kill with Mothra. Probably take a few rounds, but I'm actually gonna let Mothra duke it out. I don't feel like going to try to save him. Ah, shit. I can't really put my finger on what exactly the appeal of Godzilla is to me. I mean, I think on the most basic level, I think the fact that Godzilla has origins as a dinosaur has a lot to do with it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's unique to my generation or whatever, but seems like the kids of the 80s, seems like dinosaurs were really pushed on us somehow, because we all, like all the boys my age, seem to know dinosaurs inside and out. Like we all know their names, and we all know who did what, and for some reason we all have an affinity for them. I don't know if that's just our generation, but in my case, I loved dinosaurs as a kid, and I'm pretty sure that had a lot to do with me falling in love with Godzilla too. And then of course there's the fire breath and the blowing up of cities and the monster fighting and all that stuff. And that probably all figures in too. But I don't know, I think the intrinsic character of Godzilla... Oh shit, I actually got a kill with Mothra. Fuck yeah! I think the intrinsic character of Godzilla just lends itself really well to little boys. I mean, he's this big menacing monster that... Sure, he's a force of nature, sure, he's a big scary monster, but at the same time, he also has a tendency to seemingly fight for what's right, and he has that tenacious spirit where it's like, there are bigger monsters out there, but none are badder, where it's like, sure, he's died a few times in his movies, but he's never stayed dead, because he's just too awesome for that. think a lot of it actually has to do with the suit acting. The fact that there's a guy in a rubber costume running around smashing buildings. Pretty sure all of us as kids knew that there was a guy in the Godzilla suit. It wasn't like, you know, other childhood creations like the Tooth Fairy or Easter Bunny and stuff where some of us were fooled and really didn't know, you know? But fuck you, Baragon. You don't get Mothra. But yeah, one thing that's always been apparent with Godzilla is that the guy in the suit really does make a difference. Like, sure, you'd be hard pressed to be able to tell the difference between like Kenpachiro Satsuma and Haruo Nakajima, but the respective eras that those two actors came from were so different that you can tell the difference from movie to movie. I mean, the actors' performances themselves may not differ all that much, but the mood of each movie combined with their performances actually does seem to make a difference. In Satsuma's case, I'd have to say he got the short end of the stick in terms of being able to portray a character with his suit acting, because during the Heisei series, when he finally got to take over the position as Godzilla, he got his start in the industry as Hedora and then Gigan, and then eventually he replaced Nakajima. But in the Heisei era, the suit designs were much bulkier and very hard to maneuver in, to the point where, oh man, I was one hit away. To the point where you couldn't really do a whole lot with your performance. It was just kind of work with what you got. You know, shrug your shoulders when the director tells you to, and make sure to rear back when the fire breath cue happens. Other than that, you know, there wasn't a whole lot to do. Whereas in Haruo Nakajima's era, you know, from 1954 to, 75, the suit designs were very slim. Well, they're still incredibly heavy, but they afforded him with enough maneuverability to the point where he could definitely do a lot of interesting things. Like, I don't think any of us will ever forget the way he used to bob his elbows up and down, like doing this really macho strut whenever he was smashing cities as Godzilla, or, you know, getting ready to march into battle against Mechagodzilla or what have you. And then there's things like his dance in Monster Zero, and more subtle things like in Son of Godzilla. Godzilla really came across as a cartoon character almost. Like his movements were very much that of a father. Like, he and Minira have several exchanges where, of course, there's no dialogue. There's just, you know, grunting and roaring. But just with their gestures, you really get this, like, humorous image of a father trying to tutor his son. It's just like, why does Baragon not blow up? I want to see my opponent explode. That's why I play this game. That's some bullshit. I'll punch you in the throat, you strutting motherfucker. Shit. Get in the corner. Get in the corner, bitch. Get in the corner. Yeah. Yeah. Eat it. Eat it in the balls. Fuck. Eat it in the balls. Fuck. Oh. Well, that's right. Get back in the corner, bitch. In the balls. In the balls. Oh, look at him go. It's like raping the corner, but it's got some kind of nut stomping